Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this podcast, Where to From Here, featuring conversations about luxury travel and how it's changing in every pocket of the globe.
And then when I did become the GM, I realized it's not all that. There is a component of it.
So I'm here in Sydney talking to Uday Rao, who I have been literally chasing for many months, maybe a year or more, to be on my show. And I've just learned why, because this is his first ever podcast. So it is my great honor. He is one of the people who is behind the Four Seasons Hotel. He has been there a really long time. And his last posting was in Bali, I believe, at the Four Seasons there.
That's
correct. And I
correct.
was living in Jakarta and we exchanged a few emails. So I'm sure he's got lots to tell us. Uday, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Renae. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. So you were born in India, but started your career at Four Seasons at Chicago about 33 years ago. You've spent
Yes.
most of your career in Southeast Asia, but I wanted to know, I'm flying to Mumbai on Monday, would you believe?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very excited with my son. Why do so many great hoteliers come out of India?
Well, it was always my dream, to be honest. I think India, obviously, if you've been there and you visited, you know, the Oberoi chain of hotels, the ITC, the Taj, these were always the enamored hotel chains for us Indians. So it was sort of, we grew up in that environment where it was an industry that was sought after, and young kids who wanted to go overseas wanted to do hotels. And I got into hotels purely because of my brother. He was in the hotel business way earlier than I was. And he sent me, when I was 16, he sent me a book on hotels and motels around the world. And
It wasn't the book Dare to Dream, was it?
No.
Not that one.
I remember that one. And I would flip through these pages and I would look at these beautiful hotels in Tuscany or up in the Swiss Alps. In Tahiti, and I said, I want a job that would take me to these various locations. And then that was it. I was hooked onto that dream of mine that got me into the hotel business.
And why did you leave and go to the States?
To college, my brother had already immigrated to the US. All my aunts and uncles were in the US. So dad, when we were kids, got us a green card. And when I graduated from high school, I moved in with my brother into California. And that was it. Yeah, I finished first 2 years of college in the US. And then my last 2 years was in Japan. And then after graduation from university, I joined Four Seasons. And that too was a mistake. I joined Four Seasons by mistake.
What do you mean?
In Chicago, there's a Ritz Carlton hotel in Chicago, and everybody knows the Ritz Carlton brand. And I called my brother when I was looking for a job after graduation. I said, do you think I should apply for a job at the Ritz? And he goes, absolutely. If you can get a job at the Ritz, go for it. So I applied, got the job as an overnight receptionist. And on the first day of orientation, we were sitting in the training room, and the director of HR started talking about Four Seasons. And I was so confused. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't join Four Seasons. No. I joined Ritz Carlton.
Ritz Carlton.
He goes, no, that this particular Ritz Carlton is the only Ritz Carlton in the world that is actually managed by Four Seasons.
Right.
So there you go. 32 years ago, I made a big mistake that I thought it was a mistake, and never looked back. No regrets.
Wow. And tell me, what was it like to leave India and go to California? What was your impression of America?
Shell shock. Completely dazzled. Everything that I had seen in the movies, Hollywood movies, palm trees, beautiful beaches, sunshine, 365 days. I moved to Southern California, so it's a great place to move to. I went to LA, and then my brother and I moved further south to San Diego. So Sydney reminds me of San Diego.
Yeah.
It has that harbor, the beaches, beautiful weather throughout the year. So I was, young. I was a young kid. I was very naive. I grew up in India. I knew very little about life and experiences of even getting a job or
Yes.
driving, cooking on my own, doing laundry. I mean, you grew up in India and everything somehow is taken care of. I was fortunate. But
Yes.
then now I had to do things on my own. So it was life lessons that I learned, and here I am.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was the
And
best thing my parents ever did for me.
wow. And what was your
Yeah.
first general manager position? Obviously, that was with Four Seasons because you've been there the whole
Yes,
way through,
the
haven't you?
first GM role was in Bali in 2013, where I was taking care of the two Four Seasons hotels.
Right.
We have two, one up in Ubud, in Siam, and the other one is by the beach in Jimbaran. So
Yeah.
that was my first job. It was always my dream to be a GM with Four Seasons. And I knew that the day I walked into the Four Seasons in Chicago, I said, one day I would love to be a GM with this company. Um, and yeah, so it took me a while to get there, but eventually I
And
got there.
how did the reality compare to the dream?
The reality was bigger than the dream.
Wow.
So for
Really?
me, the reason why I wanted to become the GM at that time when I was, 20, was for the wrong reasons. It was all about the glamour, the glitz,
Right.
walking the marble floors, entertaining, hosting clients, meeting celebrities. And then when I did become the GM, I realized it's not all that. There is a component of it, but the responsibility of being a GM, where decisions that directly impact the livelihood of the team or the business or your owners or any stakeholders, so to speak, was huge, obviously, and that reality was a big responsibility. And then, of course, you realize I better take this really seriously
Yeah, right.
and
You're right.
make the best of it. And I
And
did.
what's the secret to the Four Seasons success? I mean, I've stayed in them to review them. It's an incredible experience being at a Four Seasons. The staff certainly seem to be elevated compared to, any other luxury brand that I've stayed in.
Very
How
kind.
do you see it? What's the secret?
The secret is really the culture, to be very honest. It's not rocket science. It's all about the heart and how you treat others as you want to be treated. It's in the values of the company. It's about the training. There are so many facets of it. The recruitment part. It's very easy to teach somebody the technical part. I can teach
Mm,
somebody how to check in. I can teach somebody how to make a martini, but you can't teach somebody the heart
yes.
and to the warmth, the care, the emotional connection with the guest. You can't teach those. Either you have it or you don't.
You're right.
So it's important that we find the right individuals that fit with that culture that Four Seasons has.
Yes.
The technical part is easy. The tangibles are easy. It's the intangibles that you want to focus on.
And now that you're in Sydney, how difficult is it to find those types of people in Australia? I mean, my perception, having lived in Southeast Asia, is that's intrinsic in Southeast Asian culture to care
Yeah,
for people, to listen to people, to help people.
right.
That's one of the reasons I really love that part of the world. So is it more difficult in Australia to find them?
I wouldn't say it's impossible. And I certainly wouldn't say that it's been easy. The advantage is that when you hire Aussies, they're naturally very warm, and the relaxed mindset of having fun, enjoying enjoying what life is about. I think that's innate in Aussies, which is great. So it sort of makes the service side of it a lot easier because it comes naturally.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, but then you start teaching the technical part. The hard part is retention, is how do you retain good people? And even though we find them, the tricky part is to keep them because, like you said, it's hard to find good people. And there are many that are looking for good people, and there are very few.
Yes.
So the trick is to, when you find them, make sure we keep them.
Keep them, which is another challenge.
Yes.
And how do you feel about moving to Australia? I mean, you were in Bali for how long? That was quite a
10
long
years.
posting. Yeah.
10 years.
Wow.
Incredible. It was probably one of the most crucial decisions I made in my career. Did I want to leave Bali? No. But did I needed to leave Bali for my career? Yes. It was coming to a point where I was sort of cruising in Bali, so to speak. Hotel was doing well, business was coming back, life was good. It was fantastic. I knew the owners, the team was working well with me, so things were going well. But I needed to challenge myself. I needed to do things that were a little more complex, go to a bigger hotel like Sydney, and go against the grain, against the comfort zone. And that's what Sydney has taught me professionally. It's been a fantastic experience. It hasn't been easy. It's been very challenging.
Well, the hotel's been there 42 years. I mean, how do you make something old new again, right? Is that a big part of the challenge, or?
Well, fortunately, when I came, the room renovation was already done. It was completed in 2019. Obviously, then COVID happened, and then we reopened. So I was inheriting a new product from a room side of it. The challenge was really the labor market. It was very, very hard to find good people. Getting visas at that time in 2022 was practically impossible. Or when we found somebody, it took 6 months, 5 months to get a visa.
Wow.
So you're waiting, the waiting period, it took a while. But obviously now all of that has eased off, but also understanding the complexities of the awards, the penalties.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that must have been, again, because I've lived in Indonesia, none of that exists there. And it's so much more expensive to hire people here and so much more challenging. They can only work these hours, this and that. It's
correct. And days off and, giving the breaks and not giving breaks and etc. I mean, it was very, very, and also it's all hourly, right? You have casual workers who are making more money because their hourly rate is much higher than sometimes, full-time staff because of the penalties, awards. So it's all of that to grasp and get your fingers around it. And honestly, even now, I have a hard time understanding it. So I'm fortunate I have a really good director of HR and the team that makes you walks you through these complexities. But it's been fantastic. Yeah, the experience has been amazing thus far. Yes.
And tell us, can you give us some insights into the new Four Seasons coming to Melbourne? Because let's be honest, after 42 years, this is so overdue for this country.
It is in the works. At the moment, we have announced that it's going to happen in Melbourne, but it's still preliminary. We know we're going to have a hotel as well as Four Seasons residences. But global to what size, right? And how many restaurants, etc., we don't know yet. It's still too early. We're still in the design phase of it in terms of the interiors, as well as finding the right interior designers and going through checking up all the important aspects of the contracts and everything else.
Do we know where it is?
It is South Bend, if I'm not mistaken. South Bend.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes. So it's scheduled to open in 2027 as of now.
Beautiful.
So we'll see, but it's going to happen. We're super excited. It'll be another obviously our sister property in Australia, a second project. It gives, it'll give us a run for our money for sure.
Absolutely. And is there a lot of competition now between Sydney and Melbourne hotels? Do you see that?
Two cities they offer very different experiences, right?
Yes, agreed.
So Sydney, people come to Sydney obviously for the harbor, the opera house, the bridge, the food scenes, ridiculously great here in Sydney, the outdoorsy lifestyle, the beaches. And Melbourne offers very different aspects for tourists, people visiting the city. I find Melbourne more sporty because I'm a big tennis fanatic, so I'm always there for the
They do it
Australian
so
Open.
well, right? They
Yeah,
do it so well.
it's amazing. So yeah, it's. I think even as a city, it's much more of a walking city. They have beautiful ethnic neighborhoods that are there. It reminds me of a small European
Yes,
city
agreed.
versus Sydney is very different.
Mm.
So they compete in different ways.
Yes. Yeah. No, interesting. And coming back to your property here in Sydney, what are the priorities there? I mean, what are you putting your energy into? Sustainability, wellness, F&B? What are the priorities there?
F&B for us is a priority because Sydney is so competitive in the food and beverage scene here. I mean, there's so many great restaurants and cocktail bars. So it keeps us trying to always innovate and do things different and new. We're fortunate that one of our restaurant is one-hatted, and it's been there
Congratulations.
for quite a few years now. So that's been great. We've just revamped our bar concept, which is doing really well. So you're constantly trying to innovate and be creative and try and bring the local community into the hotel.
Yes.
Because guests that are in-house want to go out. They want to check out, as a tourist, you want to see the other restaurants and bar scenes. And if you're a foodie, you want to go out. But how do we get the locals to come into the hotel?
Right.
That's been our focus.
And how do you do that?
Having great food and great cocktails and having a
Yes.
great vibe, and more importantly, the service. And the brand has been very powerful, right? Obviously, the brand attracts the clientele, and there's the trust that if you go into Four Seasons, you will have a great experience, you will have great food, great drinks, and the service is going to be fantastic.
Yes.
So that's a big plus for us.
100%. And how do you see Australia in terms of sustainability? Because I have to be honest and say I was just in Flores 2 weeks ago in Indonesia. It's an island, as you know. And I was really concerned at the rubbish, the amount
Oh
of
my
rubbish.
gosh, yeah. It's heartbreaking to go to Bali these days.
It's heartbreaking
and see
because
the trash and
for people who don't know, when you live in Indonesia, you have to pay, whether you're a five-star hotel or a
yes,
person in a house, and many people can't afford it.
yeah,
And therefore, if most people aren't paying, then no one pays. And the solution is, in the most part, to put the pile of rubbish out the front on the street and set fire to it, to burn
correct,
it, which of course creates air pollution. So often in
correct.
cities like Jakarta, where I lived, you wake up in the morning and the whole thing is covered in smoke from
Smoke,
all the burning off of rubbish.
yeah. But but for Bali, it's the culmination. It's not just the rubbish. It starts from education from a very young
Yes.
age. They don't have the
Yes.
means. They're not taught how to recycle, and if they are taught, then the government doesn't have the means to recycle the amount of trash that comes out of it, or they don't have the right equipment, and the priorities are very different. So I get it. I can't fully blame the Balinese for what is happening, because also tourism is there. So the trash is also created by tourists. So the culmination of it. But here in Sydney, I mean, it's incredible. I think it's probably the most forward thinking in terms of sustainability and being environmentally friendly and being conscious of how we take care of nature and our surroundings. We are very particular, and we care. It shows. You
It's
go to
true.
the beaches, and they're beautiful beaches, and it's clean and it's safe, and you're not worried about stepping on glass or trash. You can walk bare feet. You don't have to bat an eye.
It's true.
I love hikes, and I go
Yes.
to the Royal National Parks and I hike there, and you never see any trash because people care. But
Yes.
there's that education, is there? There's this constant uh, messaging to young kids and as parents that hey, you can't throw trash, or take care of it and make sure you're respectful of nature and the animals around. And that isn't done in many countries.
Yes.
So
I
yes,
don't
I
know
mean
if it will ever be done. I mean,
I don't think so, and that's the beauty of it. Everything is also protected here, right? I mean, you have guests who coming in, just for example, trying to bring nuts, and we're not allowed to bring in nuts, and
yes.
you know, same with the food. Importing restrictions are there, so you're constantly sourcing locally.
Yes.
So those messages and that kind of campaign of thought process helps keep Australia the way it is, and it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't change, keep it that way.
Yes, no, I agree. If only we could do something though for some of the other countries in Southeast Asia, in
Yes.
India, just to
Oh,
educate, as you say, that's the absolute key. Even if they just start educating in schools, at least then in 10, 20 years time, things will start to change.
and the
The
government
paradigm
needs to
shift.
take that effort and make an effort to spend the money on that, which,
They won't.
sadly doesn't happen.
No, no, I agree with you. It's devastating. But coming back to Sydney, how does the clientele at Four Seasons Sydney compare to the clientele at Four Seasons Bali?
Oh, I mean, it's the same clientele, but for different purposes why they're coming.
Right. Yes.
For us here being a city hotel, it's a lot of corporate incentive groups. So they're predominantly work related. Yes, we obviously have tourists and leisure guests that come in the summer months, but in Bali, it is all leisure.
Yes.
Majority of our clients in Bali are there to have a great time. And
Absolutely.
so we have a good mix in Sydney. We have obviously leisure gas, cruise gas, and then you have your corporate and you have group incentives. But majority of our clients are Aussies or
Yeah.
domestic. I would say 60%. And then the rest are international, either from Europe or US.
Fantastic. And what would you say is the best part of your job? I mean, 32 years with Four Seasons, that is epic.
It is epic. Honestly, I love engagement with the staff and the guests. It is all about creating memories, making that emotional connection with the guests, and giving them a good time. Because they trust their time and the money they spend at a Four Seasons. So you want to make sure that they walk away with cherished moments.
Yes.
And as far as the team's concerned, for me, it's about them. I want to make sure they grow and they grow in their careers. And if I can be a catalyst in helping them achieve their dreams, as someone did for me,
Yes.
why not?
Absolutely.
Happy to do that. So every day is different, which is what I love about this job.
And Uday, when you travel, where do you like to go? And do you look for luxury hotels, or do you just always stay at Four Seasons?
When I can, I do stay at a Four Seasons because we can stay for free, which is great.
What are your favorites?
Because
What are your top 3 favorite Four Seasons?
wow, I love Florence. Florence was by far my favorite Four Seasons property that I've
Wow.
experienced. Chiang Mai,
Mm.
Four Seasons Chiang Mai in Thailand
Yeah.
is one of them, and the Maldives, Four Seasons
Wow.
Maldives. Well, I have history with the Maldives as well, so I'm a little biased towards that.
Yes.
But stunning, stunning locations. But honestly, almost every Four Seasons that I've been to, it's been incredible.
Wow. No, they're
Because you're
great.
constantly you're constantly taking care of others. So when I go, I want to be taken care of.
Oh, 100%, of course.
So I do like to be pampered. So I might as well stay the 4 seasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you seen
Who
much of
wouldn't?
Australia yet?
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit. Been to Melbourne obviously a few times, and Portsmouth, Port Macquarie, Port Stephens. Been to Jarvis Bay, um, Hunter Valley, Orange. So I've discovered around Sydney, so to speak.
Yes.
I haven't been to the Great Barrier Reef or the Gold Coast or yet. It's
Yeah.
on the list.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Well, they're all waiting. Well, you might be
Yeah.
here for another 10 years. Who knows? You were 10 years in
You never
Bali.
know. I'll be fortunate if that happened.
Absolutely. Well, Uday, we ask all of our guests a question on where to from here, and that can be where you're going today, where your next holiday is, or what your direction is with the hotel. So where to from here for you?
Well, Dean and Nancy's for a cocktail with a friend of mine
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
later this evening. But down the road to Iceland, I have a big trip coming up in June to go to
Oh,
Iceland.
wonderful.
Yeah. So
I spoke to a guest recently on the show who said that the first 10 days in June, there's the most outbound travel in the whole of Australia. So if you're
really?
on a flight then, get to the airport early.
All right, perfect. Good to know.
Good insider tips.
Fantastic.
Well, I hope to meet you at the hotel soon. I know
I
your
hope so.
PR has invited me, so I'd love to come and meet with you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, Renee. It was great.
Not at all. Thank you for taking the time, and good luck with Four
Pleasure.
Seasons Sydney.
Thank you. Take
See you
care.
soon, Uday.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.